Hello and welcome to this Moodle video on how to use groups and groupings. You can see that in topic 1 I've got a Word document, and in topic 2 I have a forum discussion area. In topic 1 it's going to demonstrate how you can use groups and groupings with resources, and in topic 2 we'll be covering off how to use it with activities. Groups and groupings is quite a complex function within Moodle, but actually once you get your head around it and understand how it works, it becomes much easier the more you do it. So hopefully this video will help you work out the best way for you to use groups and groupings within your Moodle unit. So to start with, I'm going to go to administration, and then I'm going to go to the little sort of arrow by users and expand that so I can see groups. I'm going to select groups. I'm now in the groups area, and what I'm able to do is create groups for me to use. I can also get Moodle to auto-create groups for me. What this means is if I don't mind who is put with whom, then I can get Moodle to do the legwork for me. So if I click auto-create groups, it will then start to ask me what it is that I'd like it to do. So to start with, I've got the naming scheme. I must have in this box either the @ symbol or the hash symbol. The reason for this is the word before that, so in this case group, is irrelevant, but actually the hash would make it numbers, so that would then list it as group 1, group 2, group 3. I'm going to do it as work placement. Or if you do the @ symbol, like you'd have in an email address, it would do work placement A, B, C, D and E. So depending on how many groups you're creating and what people know to expect to, use that particular sort of tag. Or to create groups based on either number of groups or members per group. So what I can do is I want to say out of all of my students I want 4 groups, or I could say that I want it to have each group to have 4 members in it, which may then make I don't know, 20 groups. I want to do this with only the student roles, but I could actually allocate members of staff into this as well. Am I going to allocate the members randomly or by alphabet? It depends on how you may have done it in class. Once I've done that, I'm going to click Submit. I'm not going to worry about the grouping section at the moment. We'll cover groupings in just a moment. So as you can see there, I've now got work placement 1, 2, 3 and 4. The first 2 groups have got 3 students in it. The second 2 groups have got 2 students in. So there was not the right number of students to make the groups, but it has made 4 groups as I've asked it to do. It will, however, not do that if I then have too few students to make as many groups as I've asked for. So to start with, I'm actually going to start in topic 2 and use the discussion area, the forum board, as an example of how groupings would work. So I'm going to go Edit and Edit Settings. Now obviously this has already been set up, so I'm going to go straight down to the Common Module Settings. I've got the Show Hide option. That's obviously kind of whether you can see the resource or not, but I'm going to use Group Mode as either No Groups, Separate Groups or Visible Groups. No Groups is standard and default and how it will be when you first create it. A separate group is, as it says, groups which are created, so that workplace 1, 2, 3 and 4 that we have, they will not be able to see each other's areas. A visible group in the forum context would allow me to then sort of let the students look at all the other work that's been going on, but they just can't comment outside their own group or their area. So for the moment I'm going to choose separate groups, which effectively is like putting 4 groups in separate rooms rather than around a table. I'm again not going to use groupings just yet, we'll come back to that in a moment. I'm going to click Save and Display, and you can now see that I have the discussion board to work from. I've got the separate groups and it says all participants, but if I drop that down it's got the 4 groups that we've just auto created. So I'm going to now put in my sort of first discussion post. I'm going to give it a subject and then a message. And then at the bottom you can see where it says group and all participants. This means this message will go to everybody in every group and it will be the same to them all. What I can also do is choose to send a message to only one of those groups, or filter all of the discussions by only one of those groups. So I'm going to choose to go to work placement 2 and add a new discussion topic just like I just did. So I'll give it a topic, and this will be topic 2, and then a message. Again, just as before, I type in the comment that I need to leave to that group. You can check at the bottom there, it says group, and I can, maybe if I'd selected it wrong to start with, I could rechange it there before I post a forum, but I want it to go to the work placement 2, post a forum, and it will then add that into their area. So what you can now see in my area is topic 1 and topic 2, and it's got a group list underneath that. And group 2 can see all the messages I've posted. If I now change that separate groups to be group 3, what you'll see is they'll keep topic 1 because that was to everybody, but I've now lost that one to group 2 only. So it does then separate the groups that you don't have. So if I go to work placement 1, again, that isn't the second message isn't there because it was only for work placement 2. If I go to all participants, as the academic, I can see all of the topics in one quick glance, and you'll notice that the group column shows that it says which group it's part of. So work placement 2 or to everybody. Without a group, it basically is sending it to absolutely everyone. So that is how Moodle works when creating groups for activities. It allows you to create one resource for multiple people. Looking at the icon next to the edit, to start with, you'll notice it says separate groups. If I click it again, it becomes visible groups, and if I click it again, it becomes sort of no group. So it's a quick way to toggle between all the different group options that you have. And this appears to any resource where you're allowed to use groups. Now you'll notice that the Word document doesn't have the group option, and the reason for that is that it doesn't need to create 4 versions for different people to access, whereas in the discussion board we wanted to effectively put them all into separate rooms to have a discussion without anyone seeing anything else. That doesn't happen for a Word document because you're giving them all the same file. Now you may very well want to restrict who that file goes to, and that is then done through the grouping option. So at the moment you'll notice that there are no groupings created. When I take the available for group members only, the grouping option becomes accessible, but there are no groupings created. So now we're going to show you how to create a grouping. I go to users and I go to groups again through the administration tab or block. And then you'll notice at the top here there's a tab next to groups that says groupings. First thing I need to do is create that grouping. I'm going to call this group 1 and then save those changes. At the moment there are no groups within that, so I click the sort of person icon and it shows me the groups that I have created already, which we know is a work placement 1 to 4. I'll choose to add work placement 1 to that. I can now create another grouping. And this one is going to be called Monday morning or Monday AM. So this may very well be more than one sort of set of groups. You notice I had the 4 work placement groups that I've created. A grouping can be a collection of groups. So it may very well be that my work placement 2 and work placement 4 groups are actually all part of the Monday AM class that I take. So I can create them all into one what's called a grouping. A grouping is a collection or a group of groups itself. What I can now do is edit that Word document again. And I go back to my common module settings and I'll tick available for group members only. And now you'll see that I've got group 1 and I also have Monday AM grouping. So now I'm going to do save and return to course. And what will happen is you'll see the brackets go next to the information for group 1 and it then only is for group 1. And now into the discussion board and go to common module settings again. It's separate groups we've already set up, but now what I'm going to do is change the grouping for this to the Monday AM group. So actually group 2 and 4 will be my separate groups in the discussion board, but group 1 and 3 won't be able to see or access that discussion area. Only students within the other groups will be able to see it. Groups and groupings is a very powerful tool. However, as I mentioned, it does get quite confusing with the definitions that Moodle has given it. A group is basically the collection of students that is accessing an activity like a discussion board or maybe an assessment area, And what you're going to be doing is applying whether they are able to access that in their separate groups. For the groupings, this is to do with the restricting access of materials to certain groups of students. And as you see, the Monday AM grouping is a collection of more than one group that can then access that discussion board. You can use groups in marking to allocate work to academics. I will cover this off in another separate video. Thank you very much for watching this particular video.